Welcome back to the channel, my pop crop. No, that one's really weird. I don't like that. We're giving that one the executive veto. I never want to hear pop crop again. Anyways, guys, thanks for popping over to the channel. We're actually getting some pretty good growth, and I'm having a really fun time making these, so I hope you're having just as good of a time watching them. So, as you may be able to tell from the title of this video, I recently bit the bullet and bought the DayZ Standalone game, which is a game that I've been eyeballing since I was 14. I figured now would be as good a time as ever to buy it because I'd already been playing lots of Rust, Deadside, and some of the Arma 3 DayZ mod. So why not try it now? Here's the big question though. Was DayZ worth buying in 2021? Or was it just a total waste of my money and my time? Well, I guess that's what you're here to figure out now, isn't it?
A rancid apple core, 2 worm-eaten banana peels, a moldy rice cake, a dried-up pickle, tin of sardine bones, a pile of broken eggshells, an old smushed-up rotten gizzard with maggots all over it.
Okay, it's worth it.
If you don't know what DayZ is, it's basically a multiplayer apocalypse survival game. You spawn near the coast on a map called Chernaris, and you have to survive PvE and PvP elements. A lot of them. It's pretty crazy how much stuff can kill you in this game. There's sicknesses, zombies, hunger, thirst, and probably the most important, other players. Now, your goal is to
get geared and become an unstoppable force of nature, slaughtering all you see.
Or not. How you play is largely up to you, and that's why so many people love this game. To help organize this video, I'm just going to stick to a simple pros and cons list, and we're going to start off with the pros. The first one being that DayZ gives you a lot of freedom. You're able to be who you want to be and do what you want. You can start a militia, hunt, enforce the law, break the law, and by that I mean like cuffing people and kidnapping them, that's a thing, or even just starting a cult. And that's not a joke. I met a guy who was standing on top of a vendor stall trying to recruit for his arm-flapping cult army.
I need 3 separate lines, brothers. I need 3
Give us the lines.
If you're part of my army, if you're part of the united army of the people, together, brothers, we will rule the world together. Together, we will be free people, brothers.
On to number 2, which is that DayZ is very realistic and very challenging, which I guess you could count as a con, but if you're looking at DayZ, chances are you're looking for a realistic and challenging experience. You need to watch your hunger and your temperature, and if you forget about one of those, you're gonna die. Rest in peace, man. Guns also need reloaded bullet by bullet, and they can lose durability. DayZ is really just a super harsh game that doesn't give a darn. Sicknesses spread and wounds need tended to. You need to be aware of how these things will affect you. Drinking dirty water will get you sick, and you need to wash nasty stuff off your hands and gloves. My first time playing, I kept getting sick from drinking clean water out of my canteen, and I was just super confused, so I ended up Googling it, and I learned that the blood on my hands from slicing up a goat an hour earlier needed to be washed off, or else I was going to keep throwing up my guts. And I'm glad I was able to figure that out, because looking at the forest floor and watching vomit stream from your mouth isn't a great way to admire this game's graphics. DayZ's graphics aren't shockingly beautiful, but it isn't bad looking at all. The textures can be low quality and the game has its share of optimization issues, but they are getting better, and the game does have some really pretty moments. It's not Red Dead Redemption 2 levels or anything, but it's definitely not going to be a bother to you. There's lots of foliage and forests have a really nice feel to them. The graphics in this game add to the experience instead of how some distract from it. Now this next pro is a bit controversial in terms of being a pro because it can make the game really hard for new players, but it makes the game much more fun and enjoyable, and that's going to be mods. Now, DayZ is pretty similar to Arma if you've ever played that because it has a very substantial modding scene, and I find the game is pretty bland and boring to play vanilla, so I usually play on modded servers. To make them easier to download, you're going to need to get a third-party launcher that'll automatically install a server's mods for you once you click the play button. Mods can add everything from new gear to new vehicles, and they keep the game interesting since there are so many of them out there. One of my favorites is the drugs mod. Yeah, they made a drugs mod, and it's absolutely hilarious. However, I could see mods becoming more of a con than a pro to some players because they make the game pretty hard to just start. Clicking on a server and seeing a list of 45 mods can be pretty overwhelming to new players, and many of them can add a lot of new content to the game, such as Base Building Plus. It's really hard to learn all the recipes and how to use that mod, since it isn't part of the base game. But once you figure them out, mods are an absolute must-have for DayZ, and they make the game that much more fun. And speaking of fun, voice chat just makes this game so hilarious and real feeling.
3, ready, 2, 1. Nobody did it.
You baiters. When you're just running through the woods all alone and hear a distant scream, you can't help but laugh. Having a local voice chat just makes the experience that much better. You're able to have more personal connections with your other players, and it makes the game world feel just much more human. Like you're actually just walking up to a dude in the woods and having a conversation with him. And it makes it a lot easier to trash talk your enemies mid-battle. Now, this next pro kind of ties into the last one because it's the community. And this community makes the game super fun. You can join groups with other players on a whim and just make friends from all over the world. There's also a lot, and I mean a lot of folk who like to roleplay in the game. I've seen police, kidnappers, traveling salesmen, human traffickers, radio broadcasters, and cult leaders, like I said before. They make the game just so funny and can lead to some human interaction that'll leave you laughing for days. But that isn't to say that DayZ isn't without its flaws, and unfortunately it has loads. Like a lot. It is by no means a perfect or flawless game. This first one isn't really that much of the developer's fault, it's more on the community, and that's because this game isn't like you see on YouTube. YouTubers really give a false impression of what DayZ really is. While player interaction is hilarious or it's just an immediate gunfight, those encounters with other people are few and far between. You can go hours without seeing another player outside of safe zones, and it can be a real bummer if you're expecting to have a lot of YouTube moments. The truth is that many YouTubers have to cut down hours and hours of gameplay into just a couple of minutes of the best parts. It can make it seem like the game is crawling with interaction and people, but it really isn't. DayZ is a lonely game, and if you buy it expecting anything more, you will be disappointed. That doesn't mean that players are impossible to find. It's pretty easy to find them around military bases and such, but they're really not there to chat. They're there to get loot, and if they see you, they're probably going to pop you in the head. Another issue with DayZ is that hackers are a pretty large plague on it. While I haven't seen loads of them personally, I have seen more than I usually do in most games, and other players talk about them a lot. But I mean, it could just be your average gamer salt, but I don't think so. The sad thing is that the developers don't really seem to care or do much about it, which just leaves them to continue ruining the fun for others. And another thing that bothers me about this game is that vanilla DayZ without mods is pretty boring. Knowing how to run the game modded is a necessity because they add loads of new stuff like guns, tactical gear, traders, vehicles, and much more. The modded servers just lead to a much better time and a more playable DayZ experience than the vanilla game does, at least in my opinion. Another pretty unfortunate con for DayZ is that the game is chock full of weird bugs and glitches that just shouldn't be present in a $45 game that was officially released more than 2 years ago and that has been in development since 2013. They have had time to fix them, but they're kind of just ignoring them. And while I haven't seen loads of bugs, I have seen sites that don't line up with my eyes, and I literally just fell through the ground once. It just makes the game seem like it's in early access and not a full release game. It's also worth mentioning that DayZ had a huge development time, and while this isn't as much of an issue now since it's made it to a full release and it's in a playable state, it was pretty bad for a long while there, and I'm just gonna let these Steam reviews speak for themselves because they're pretty hilarious. This game has been in alpha for 4 years. Let me tell you what I did in those 4 years. I found a girlfriend and fell in love. We argued and broke up. I graduated high school. I went to college. I graduated college. I joined the army. I got medically discharged a month in from asthma. I worked as a pizza driver, a cook, and a security officer for 3 different companies. I got a new car. I went back to college to get a higher degree. I found another girl. 2 of my grandparents died. I got hired as a dispatcher. All of this in this game added and removed Christmas trees for the holidays. In the last 5 years, I've had 3 different houses, a new job, a job promotion, 2 kids gone to school, another child on the way, got married, got 5 tattoos, and DayZ is still in an alpha state. My grandchildren may enjoy this game when it's finished. I literally started and finished my PhD before this game made it out of early access. And all of this has just led to the cherry on top con for me, and that is the Livonia DLC, because it might just be the stupidest thing that I have ever heard. The Ternaris map was DayZ's only map for 6 years, and the players learned it like the back of their hands, itching for something new. And then finally the day came and they released a new map called Livonia, which was locked behind a $14 paywall. Like, that should have been a free update for all the dedicated players, not a paid DLC. 6 years for a free new map as an update is not a lot to ask for. To a lot of players, it just seems like Bohemia Interactive is trying to grab some money before they dip off for the last time. And that can be really disheartening for the dedicated players in this game, because some of them have been here for 9 years, and now they're asking for more money for something that really should be included in the base game. So this brings us back to the big question we asked in the beginning. Is DayZ a game that is worth buying in 2021? And the answer is, it's really up to you. If you think that DayZ sounds like a really amazing, fun game that you're willing to dedicate loads of time to, you go out and you buy DayZ and you have a fun time with it. But if you're a little bit unsure, I would personally wait for a sale, because I don't think that DayZ is entirely worth its $45 price tag. But again, that's just my opinion. Hey guys, thanks for making it to the end of the video. If you liked this video, leave a like, and if you really liked it and want to see more of this face, leave a subscribe, because I put these videos out every week and I'm having a really fun time doing it. And with all that being said, I really do appreciate it when you guys like and subscribe. We're at 29 as of the time of posting this, so we're almost to 30, which is kind of crazy that 30 people are that invested in what I'm doing. I'm glad you guys like it, because I'm liking putting them out. Also, you may have noticed I got a cool space tapestry. I don't know why I'm putting this in the video. I just think it looks nice. Anyways, guys, have a good one. I'll see you later. Peace out.